Vast fields of emptiness stretched out far beyond Luna's gaze. Now, she stood atop a mountain, the highest peak of the moon, and saw nothing but bleak emptiness, and heard nothing but quiet. The moon was desolate. The lunar oceans were but vast craters of stark stone and dust. There was no gentle rise and fall of waves on the shore, no chittering or cawing of oceanic creatures. The peaks and the valleys sheltered no greenery, harbored no animals, and secured no ponies. Equestria was chaotic. It was fanciful and bright. It was oftentimes loud and raucous, but it was alive. It was alive and wonderful. The moon was just quiet, a deep, foreboding quiet that stretched endlessly and silent across thousands of miles. Nothing but quiet. She had wandered this place many times already. She had climbed this peak many times yet, and she would glide from its cradle for a few fleeting seconds of weightless happiness many times more. Her wings extended and she leapt. The moon's currents caught her, and she felt comfort. Fleeting joy glittered across her brow as she fell through the moon's sparse air, her body twisting listless, her feathers falling behind her. For but a few seconds, she could close her eyes and pretend, only just, that she was gliding through the night sky. She could imagine her sister would be there to catch her if she fell. Sister. Despite their little bout, she knew Celestia still loved her. Oh, the happiness they'd feel when they'd finally reunite. Sometimes it was as if Luna could still feel the elder Alicorn's wings wrapped around her as she found a cozy moonstone cave to huddle inside of and sleep until wakefulness forced her back to her prison. She'd found a little comfort in sleeping as often as she could. Time she spent asleep was time the world of dreams could salve her wounds. Luna's hooves met the moon dust. She opened her eyes and saw it coating her shoes. It glittered in Sister's beautiful sunlight. She turned up and looked towards the world once more. Equus. She recalled the hours she would spend screaming at the top of her lungs until her voice gave out, begging her sister to take her back. She would beg for forgiveness. She would scream her apologies as if the sound could carry all the way back home. Every single time her voice repeated to scratchy mewling, and her vocal cords would sting with effort. Every single time her cries of repentance would be ignored. She began to walk. Luna's hooves fell purposely upon the moon dust as she launched into a trot. In her head, she was carrying a filly on her back. It laughed and clung to her mane. It nuzzled into the back of her neck as she played at bucking her off. But of course she wouldn't. And if she did, she'd catch the little creature in her magic. Her and her filly friend trotted across the moon's surface merrily. Luna found herself smiling, and the quiet was lesser. It was positively absurd that after only a couple 100 miles of running, they came across something ridiculous. Luna checked herself, and the filly on her back was gone. She was alone again, save this thing. Luna trotted closer. It was like a perfectly cut rectangle that loomed in the distance, 2 stories tall, with bright swirling signage and a welcome sign placed in the window. The sign purported to offer sweets at deep discounts. Apparently, they'd baked too many. Now that was just the height of absurdity. She could hardly believe it. Offering such sweets at those prices? Luna found herself walking to the door. She hadn't asked permission if they could go, but she was determined and hungry too. How long had it been since she'd last had a cinnamon roll? Luna's host fell upon the door. and strangely there was no bell to signal her arrival. Instead, as she stepped inside, the door closed behind her. She simply approached the countertop. It was a comely little place. Wooden furniture with inviting and warm decor. Nobody else was there now. Her bluish-green eyes reflected in the counter's glass. She looked over an absolute feast of goodies. Oh, cakes and smaller cakes placed in cups. No, they weren't placed in cups. They were just named like they were. She remembered now. Little bite-sized pastries. And yes, there at the back, a cinnamon roll. Her eyes lit up with excitement as she turned to ask Celestia if they could. Before her stood the stark white coat of her big sister. The larger alicorn's mane was still pink back then, but she'd always taken care of Luna. The Lunar princess felt her ears drop. She'd forgotten this memory, but it was nice to be reminded. This was when Celestia had smiled and asked her something. Luna felt her snout scrunch up. What had Celestia asked her? No, it was... She could remember the vague notion. She was asking what Luna had wanted to eat, but she couldn't remember the exact phrasing. Was that it? Luna met her sister's eyes as if she could help, but there was only a fuzzy shape where her eyes should be. No. Luna stamped her hoof on the ground. She couldn't let this go. She closed her eyes and tried to focus. Please, not this. Please, not this. The alicorn willed herself to recall her older sister saying something. Anything. Even being mad at her. She couldn't forget Celestia's eyes. She had to remember. She had to hold on to that little bit of her. Unwilling to let her sister go, Luna leapt at the phantom, wrapping her forehooves around the ghost's back, but they passed through the air. Her frogs grasped at nothing, and the translucent shape of her sibling faded into dull fuzz. With her went the sweet shop. Luna was back on the empty, bleak moon. She was back to the unceasing desolation. She was back to the quiet. Luna fell and began to cry. Tears flowed heavily down her cheeks, but this time she was not bemoaning her station, and she was not begging her big sister for help. Luna was crying because she'd forgotten Celestia's voice. That was why the phantom hadn't spoken. She couldn't remember what she sounded like. Luna had cried many times before. She would cry many times yet, but nothing would ever change. She would be trapped here in this bleak and empty space, in this dark and dim world, in this empty, terrible quiet. There was nothing on the moon but quiet. Thank you for listening, every pony. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to know when I post more content like this. Feel free to follow me on TikTok, Patreon, X, and Discord. Links in the description. And should you want to join my new nation, feel free to join the Shade Hollow, my Discord server. Good night, every pony.